Okay, so hopefully if you're watching this video, you've already seen Batman v Superman because we're going to talk about some spoilers. Yeah, so official spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Batman v Superman yet and you want to see it without it being spoiled, don't watch this video. But for the rest of you guys that have already seen the movie or you just don't care about spoilers, hey, welcome. So Batman v Superman starts out, and right from the get-go, I was like, I don't really think this movie knows what it's trying to be. Really, the editing in the first half hour kind of tells what's going on. It starts off with a flashback to Thomas and Martha Wayne's funeral. Bruce Wayne falls into a little bat cave, he gets surrounded by bats, and then he starts lifting up into the sky, but that was a dream, I think. Anyways, then it cuts to black, and now you're in the Indian Ocean. Some dudes are fishing a giant rock out of the ocean. For a second, I thought Aquaman was going to show up there, but he doesn't, and then they haul it to the shore, they crack it open. Oh, it's kryptonite. Then it cuts to black again, and now you're in the middle of the desert, and Lois Lane's reporting the story. She gets captured, all hell breaks loose, Superman shows up, he saves her, boom, cut to black again. And it's just this weird choppy editing pattern that happens for a good half hour into the movie. As far as the look and the style of this movie goes though, I think it worked for what Zack Snyder was going for. I think he could have added more colors to like Superman's suit and Wonder Woman's suit. And when there are close-ups of Superman's suit, you see like the yellow behind the S sign, and you can see that there's color there, but just the color correction or something, I don't know, Snyder made it really dark and drab. And that's Snyder's style, and it looks kind of like a graphic novel. But for me personally, I just would have liked a little more fun in this movie. And I'm not saying that dark movies can't be fun. Like The Dark Knight, that's a pretty grim movie, but I have a lot of fun with that one. If the colors are really dark, you gotta balance it out with some humor or some fun action that's not all condensed into the end of the movie. Basically, the plot of this movie is one, Batman's really mad at Superman for wasting Zod at the end of Man of Steel, and Lex Luthor also doesn't think he can trust Superman, so he's trying to get this kryptonite imported into the US so he can weaponize it. And then there's a senator character played by Holly Hunter who also doesn't trust Superman, and she's kind of spearheading the whole like Superman needs to answer for his crimes deal. And when I was watching the movie, like an hour in, I was like, okay, who's had the most screen time in this movie? And it was Holly Hunter. She had a lot of screen time until she dies. But for that first hour and a half of the movie, if you're going by screen time, then she was arguably the main character, it felt like. One of the things that I did like about this movie is some of the nods to Batman and Superman's past. I saw some echoes of Superman 2 in there when they're in the bathroom and Lois Lane was telling Clark, like, you have to look over the whole world, you can't just be looking out for me. And of course there was a bunch of throwbacks to The Dark Knight Returns with Batman in his armored suit at the end, him fastening together that arrow of kryptonite, which in the comic, it's Oliver Queen that shoots it at Superman. In this movie, Batman builds like a giant spear with a kryptonite as the spearhead. So I thought that that stuff was pretty cool. And the big villain at the end of the movie that I was talking about, if you saw the trailer, you know that it's Doomsday. I just felt like it was kind of incomplete. Yeah, I guess the movie otherwise would have ended with Superman and Batman fighting Lex Luthor, but Lex Luthor could have had some like mechanical suit or something. I think he has that in the comics. I just feel like with Doomsday being such an iconic Superman villain, they should have saved him for a different movie, or maybe save him for the Justice League. Like I said in my spoiler-free review, I did like a lot of the scenes with Ben Affleck as Batman. That chase scene when he's going after the truck with the kryptonite, I thought that was really cool. And you see the scene where he's going, you're like rounding that corner, and then he runs into Superman, it's just boom, and the Batmobile goes spinning out of control. But then that line in the trailer, which is pretty cool, when he goes, "Do you bleed? You will." That scene in the movie, I like Superman, he's like, "Stay out of my way, the bat is dead." And then when Batman delivers his line, it just looked really audio dubbed. And there's also some fine details in the movie where I just look at it and I'm like, you guys didn't think that one through, did you? Like the scene after you see Batman like pumping iron and fastening the arrow and stuff, and he goes and he lights the bat signal and he's there waiting for Superman. Then it shows a scene of Wonder Woman going to her computer. Earlier they were talking about, her and Bruce Wayne were talking about how they both needed something from Lex Luthor's hard drive. Wonder Woman was saying like, oh, there's pictures on there that belong to me. So Bruce Wayne finds out about those pictures. It turns out that she's Wonder Woman. It's the pictures from what I assume is going to be the Wonder Woman movie that's coming out next year. But Wonder Woman's sitting at her computer and then all of a sudden it says like, oh, new message, Bruce Wayne. And then the message says like, oh, I went through Lex's files. Those pictures don't belong to you. Those pictures are you. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then the messages keep going. He's like, who are you? Where do you come from? How old are you? Like all that kind of stuff. I turned over to my friend. I'm like, is he instant messaging her while he's sitting there waiting for Superman? I thought that was kind of weird. Like, shouldn't have all the messages come just at one time? There was also a lot of time dedicated to Lois Lane in this movie. She's investigating that bullet. And it does tie back into the plot eventually. I just feel like there's other ways to expose Lex's villainy rather than Lois Lane having to track down this rogue bullet that she found in the desert. So the initial lead up to the Batman-Superman fight is that Lex wants Superman to go kill Batman, and he's holding Martha Kent ransom until Superman does. I thought that that was pretty interesting, because when Superman lands, he's like, Bruce, I don't want to fight you, but this is what's happening. And then Batman's not listening to them, so they fight, they tussle, and Batman gains the upper hand really quickly. I love seeing the little traps that Batman had placed for Superman. It really shows that Batman's greatest weapon is his mind, and his money. but is mine too. And at the end, when he has Superman on the ground, he's got his giant kryptonite spear, like, about to peg him in the face. Superman's on the ground, and he's like, "Must save Martha." Batman's like, "What are you talking about? Why did you say that name?" I'd completely forgotten that Batman and Superman's mothers have the same name. So I thought that that was cool, but I cared more for Batman in that scene than I did for Superman. Really, like I said in my spoiler-free review, I just needed more time with Henry Cavill as Superman to care about him near the end of this movie. Like at the end, when they're fighting Doomsday, Lois had initially thrown the spear of kryptonite into this like pool or whatever in Wayne Manor. So she goes down to get it, she gets trapped, Superman goes in and saves her, and then Superman picks up the spear, and then he realizes Batman and Wonder Woman, they're busy fighting Doomsday, so he has to fly it over, and he stabs Doomsday with it, then Doomsday stabs him with his giant pointy finger. I liked those scenes, and I was like, yeah, Superman, good job. But I also don't think I was as emotionally connected to Superman as I wanted to be, and also as the filmmakers wanted me to be. So when they have his funeral, you know, like Lois Lane's crying, and she gets the ring from Martha Kent, and I was just thinking, like, this scene could be so powerful if I had cared about Superman initially. Henry Cavill was good in Man of Steel. Even at the end, he was able to infuse a little bit of humor in there. But in this movie, he just felt so one note the entire time. I didn't feel like this was a Superman I could get behind, a Superman that I could trust. And they really just need to develop Superman's identity out of a Batman clone. I'm still interested in this series. It's weird with the movies coming out because I don't really know what the chronology of them is. Like Suicide Squad, is that set before Batman v Superman? Is that after? Is it going to show the Joker killing Jason Todd? Wonder Woman's obviously set in like the early 20th century, but like, is that going to tie into Batman v Superman at all? Is that going to lead straight into the Justice League somehow? Because I believe Justice League's the next movie after Wonder Woman. And are the Flash or Cyborg or Aquaman, any of them going to be in Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman? Because we got a brief introduction to all of them in this movie, and they are going to get their solo movies after Justice League, but I just feel like we need a little bit more with their characters. That being said, I also don't think that they should have been in this one, and I think that they really lost sight of the Batman vs Superman focus of this movie. I think something that would have made this movie a lot better: cut out all those Justice League cameos, cut out Wonder Woman, cut out Doomsday, maybe cut out Martha Kent, seriously reduce the role of Lois Lane, have it be focused more on Superman, have a slightly more smiley and optimistic Superman, have the government stuff in there like, oh, can we trust you, Superman, can we not trust you, and have Superman trying to deal with that, and Lex Luthor can be kind of like pulling the strings behind him, and Batman too can be like, hey, I don't trust you because you killed Zod and you wiped out my building in Metropolis. Then Superman and Batman can fight, Lex Luthor can be pulling the strings behind that, they can team up at the end, they can save the day against Lex Luthor who's building something that's not Doomsday, and then after that maybe introduce Wonder Woman like at the very end, but don't introduce her as Wonder Woman, just introduce her as Diana Prince. I bet you're setting yourself up for sequels there, but you're not cramming too much into this movie, and it's still focused on the Batman v Superman part of it, which is what everyone's been wanting to see forever. So there are the rest of my ramblings on Batman vs Superman. I enjoyed parts of the movie, but on the whole, wasn't the biggest fan of it. As I'm filming this, I don't know how much this movie is going to make, so I'm wondering, like, how well is this movie going to do? Because I know it's getting slammed by critics. Are the reviews going to impact the box office return? Is DC Cinematic Universe in trouble? Zack Snyder's pegged to direct the Justice League movie, so is it going to be kind of like this? Is the studio going to let him do his own thing? How much is Nolan going to be attached to it? So where do you guys think the Justice League franchise is going from here? Comment down below. Tell me what you think about that, because I want to start some sort of discussion. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, you can click subscribe, check out some of my other stuff, and I will catch you guys next time.